Okay, so we are onto the listening supportive factor. For the listening supportive factor, we have taken a discourse which explain what we are doing. What we are basically doing is developing our mindfulness, right? Try to live a mindful life, right? Blessed One, Lord Buddha is having a Bible for it, is having a handbook for it. The handbook for being mindful is called the Four Foundations of Mindfulness discourse. So that discourse we have been discussing for some time. So since there are a few newcomers, I will just give a brief summary of what we have already covered in that discourse. And as the name suggests, it is suggesting four foundations, four bases on which you can be aware of. Mindfulness, simple meaning is aware, right? So you can be aware of four bases, and if you are aware of, if you become aware of those four bases, then you improve your mindfulness and you progress in the path. So the four bases, foundations he has given in the discourse is being mindful on your body, being mindful of the feelings, being mindful of the mind, and being mindful of the phenomena. So of these four, we have already covered two. How to become mindful on the body, we have done. And how to become mindful, or how to be mindful on the feelings, we have already covered. But still, I will just give a summary of that. If you directly look at the discourse, to be mindful of the body, the Blessed One is giving 14 methods, 14 techniques, 14 tools which you can use to be mindful of the body. And of those 14, the most important, there are four, right? I'm not saying the others are less important, but practical, experiential use can be found in these four techniques or four tools or four methods the Blessed One is describing under the body. The four methods are the one you did, which is walking. And the other one is being mindful of your breath, right? So being mindful of the breath is the first one, in fact. And the second one is being mindful of the postures, right? There are four cardinal postures that we usually use to maintain this body. And of those, one is walking, and the other is standing, sitting as you are doing now, and the other one is lying down. So those are the four cardinal postures. Of those four cardinal postures, you can use all the four to extend your mindfulness. When you are mindful of your breath, right, you don't use any postures. What you simply do is you get close to your life, right? So to do that, you have a very controlled environment. You'll have to go to a quiet place, you'll have to close your eyes, you'll have to hold hands in a comfortable posture, sit in a comfortable posture, and make as easy things as possible, and then keep observing this subtle object which we call the breath, right? But you can't live your life like that. You will have to go to school, you will have to go to work, you will have to interact with people. There are many things happening in life, right? So when you do those things, you can't close your eyes and keep hands on your lap and then be like a puppet, right? So Blessed One says you gain a skill in there and you extend that skill, that ability, that possibility of being aware of the other postures as well while walking. So this is why we take walking. There, it's not controlled environment, it's a semi-controlled environment where you do something, and while doing something, you try to be mindful of. Similarly, while sitting, you can be mindful of that. And while lying down, you can be mindful. And therefore, there are practical applications in that method. And he goes further and says, in those postures, there are semi-postures, right? When you walk, there are certain things happening. You have to lift the leg, move the leg, lower the leg down, and place the leg, right? And you will have to move forward, and you will have to come back, and you will have to turn left, you will have to turn right, you will have to look back, right? You will have to raise hands. When you're raising hands, there are things happening, right? When you are standing up from sitting, there are semi postures to come to full sitting posture, standing posture. So he says, if you are able to maintain your awareness in the four cardinal postures, next thing you will have to do is try to be mindful of these variations that are taking place in converting one posture to the other, right? In other words, semi postures. In other words, he slices your body more and more and take your mind into the body, right? Initially, just look at the breath and then the postures, and then go into semi postures. So you look more closely into your body, and by doing that, what you do is you change your mind, you sharpen your mind. To see those things, you can't have a very gross mind. You will have to have a very sharp, very clear, very attentive mind, right? So if you are able to see, the changes from placing the step to the lifting, then your mind is sharp. And if you can explain what you actually feel, what you actually experience, then mind has really grasped what is happening, right? So when that happens, the Blessed One says, you may go into the basics of physics, right? The fundamental elements that the physics is explaining. Our body is product of physical elements available. So if when your mind gets sharper, your body becomes a lab. Your body becomes an experimental object, right? And the mind starts seeing not only the semi postures, mind starts seeing how these postures are being made of, right? So while sitting, most of you may have experienced that your back is paining, your knee is paining, or there will have a lot of itchiness, right? And especially because of the weather, there will have a lot of pain in the body. Now, all these things are the languages of those physical elements, right? So the physical elements I'm talking here are, as you all know, maybe probably, the earth element. There's an element in our body which called earth element, and that element is having the nature of hardness and softness. And there is another element which we call water element. In that element, the nature is not that you have water, your body is made of water. I mean, there is an element of water in your body, but what Blessed One says is its nature. Its nature, in the sense, the nature of the water element is it has the ability to put things together, cohesiveness, and then it has the ability to flow things as well, right? And similarly, the air element is having the ability to hold, and it has the ability to blow things, move things as well, transport things as well. And finally, the thermal element, or the heat element. In the heat element, you have the two extremes, which is the coolness and the warmth on the other side. So these elements, when those things come up, you identify them as a pain. If you feel some burning sensation in your knee, you don't take it as a sensation, you don't take it as a burning, you don't take it as heat element. But straight away what you say is, I don't like it, I want to change the posture. Or if you feel cold, what you do is you go and put a jumper. You don't identify that it is one side of the heat element. And when you feel heaviness, which is part of the earth element, you do something to change it, right? So like that, you go into the basics of physics or basics of physicality. And the element or your action that comes to the appearance of that basic element, or the manifestation of the basic element, is the entrance to the mind, right? When those basic elements are appearing, if you like it or if you don't like it, that is an input from your mind. So what the Blessed One does very quietly, very methodically is, it's like taking the iceberg that is under the water above the water, right? So as you know, when you have an iceberg, only 1/10 of the iceberg is above the water, right? 9/10 is under the water. So we think our body is everything. So what he does is he goes beyond the body. He is burning that top part, the tip of the iceberg. When the tip of the iceberg is burned, what was under the water will come up. So that exactly what happens when you go into the body. You now have the ability to see the action of the mind, which is the reaction. I don't like this, I like this, which we have not seen. Only those who are practicing will have the ability, or at least the opportunity, to realize that. Those who don't practice, they have no clue of something like this is happening. Right? So therefore, Blessed One says the first base to be mindful is the body. And when you are mindful of the body, then the feeling comes, right? Which is the reaction, your reaction to the manifestation of the basic elements of your body, right? So although I have now spoken this in maybe a few minutes, but we have done quite a few talks covering this thing at length. So if you want, you can listen to those things. They are available in our YouTube channel. And when you come to the mind, when you become mindful of the feelings, the advice of the Blessed One. Now, what we usually do is, when there is something that you like, you try to grab hold of it as much as possible. You want to have it and you want to give it to your family, you want to give it to your relatives, you want to give it to your village, you want to give it to your suburb, you want to give it to your country, and you want to have it everything for you, right? That's what we do when there is something that you like. When there is something you don't like, you want to destroy it and you don't want at least to see a dust of it, right? So that's our normal mentality. What the Blessed One says is, when you have a feeling like that, don't do it, just observe it. When you sit in a particular posture, and if it is uncomfortable, just try to observe it for a few more minutes, few more seconds. By doing that, what you do is, not that pain or the feeling goes away, you train your mind to change the attitude of the mind, the reaction to what is happening, right? So the mind is used to making reactions all the time, taking decisions all the time, judging things all the time. What the Blessed One says is, when these things are happening, just observe it. The word he's using is pajanati, pajanati, pajanati. If it is painful, observe it. If it is pleasant, observe that as well. Don't just consume it. Don't just get indulged in it. Observe both these things, right? It may be in your normal life, or it may be in your spiritual life. Whatever it is, Observation is the key. So once you observe the feelings in this manner, what happens is Blessed One is burning the next tip of the iceberg. First he burned the body part, and then the feelings came up, which was below the water. Now when he's not reacting to the feelings that are taking place, even that goes away. Even that tip of the iceberg is vanishing. Once that vanishes, something which was under the water is coming up, right? What is coming up now is actual mind, right? In other words, now we have challenged the mind's constant habit of reaction. Mind is not reacting now. Although the mind is not reacting, the need that the mind has to make a reaction doesn't go away. Train your mind not to react. So you just keep observing things, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, right? But still, there is a huge urge in the mind to get these things done, right? So Blessed One has identified few such instances, and we have started talking about those things in the last few sessions. So in the last session, we had the entrance to this, or the start of this, how to become mindful of the mind, right? So before I go to the being mindful of the mind, I want to mention a mistake that is happening in the meditating world, or in the mindfulness world, or among practitioners. The mistake is a lot of people are trying to be mindful of the mind without being mindful of the body. It is like trying to take the middle of the iceberg without burning the top part. What happens is you get crushed inside. If you want to really reach the mind, you will have to do it systematically, because you are in the body at the moment. So go deeper. You have to start from where you are. So therefore, just bear in mind. So this is why the Blessed One has given that as the third item on which you can be mindful of. Right? So now we have reached there by taming our body, by taming our feelings, which is the connection between the mind and the body. So from feelings, we have opened the gate of the mind, and we are in the mind. So when it comes to the mind, Blessed One is, we discussed last time, the significance of the nature of the mind. Blessed One says, the nature of the mind is that it is not something that you can see with the body. It's bodiless. And it is always living alone, or moving alone. And it does not require any partner. It does not require any companion. It acts on its own. And the other thing is, mind has the ability to go very far, right? Although you are sitting here now, your physical body is here, your mind can go to Mars. Your mind can go even to beyond Mars, to other galaxies as well. That is how our mind is. So your body is here, the mind may not be here, right? So therefore, the Blessed One says, it is such a vivid thing, we cannot easily understand. And because of this nature, always what it does is to put us in trouble. And when the mind is putting us in trouble, it never tells you that I'm putting you in trouble. Mind is doing that in a very shrewd way, right? So we discussed a few words of the Blessed One relating to that. And the Blessed One says, if you don't tame your mind, it can do a harm that an enemy cannot do to you. If you will be harmed by someone, it will be your enemy. But the Blessed One says, The mind that you has with you is doing a greater harm if it is not tamed. Right? And at the same time, Blessed One says, if it is tamed, he says, if there is someone who can give you a good life, a better life, or the best present, it is your near and dear ones, mother and father, or your relatives, or your partner, whatever. They will be giving you anything that you ask. Right? But Blessed One says, tamed mind will be much, much more beneficial than what our near and dear one could give. Right? Therefore, his suggestion is to tame that. So once we tame it, he says, you can go to the purity of mind. Right? But what happens is, when you don't react to feelings, when you come to the mind or when you go into the mind, you don't see the purity. All what you see is how impure it is. Right? So therefore, the Blessed One has identified 8 natures of the mind, if I remember right. Right? Of those 8 natures, 3 of them are, rather 4 of them are impurities, and the balance 4 are the 4 better part. Right? So today we are going to talk about the impurities, or the first few impurities that we have. So as soon as the mind's gate is open, and when your attention, I'm not calling mind now, when your attention is go inside the mind, or in other words, your awareness go into the mind, or in other words, when the 2 top parts of the iceberg is burnt off, the next thing that comes up is these waves that we have in the mind, the natures that we have in the mind. The first nature is, can you read that part, Chatuputa?
I can't remember which part we're up to.
It is observation of mind, or...
Okay. Is it about lust? There's one here about lust.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And how bhikkhus does a bhikkhu abide contemplating mind as mind? Here a bhikkhu understands mind affected by lust as mind affected by lust, and mind unaffected by lust as mind unaffected by lust. He understands mind affected by hate as mind affected by hate, and mind unaffected by hate as mind unaffected by hate.
Yeah, thank you. I'll stop you there, please. Okay, so these are the first 2 things that you see when you enter into the mind. Right? So why I say first 2 that you enter into the mind is because you are coming from feelings. In the feelings, what you have been doing is liking and disliking. Now you don't like and dislike, but the mind has to like and dislike doesn't go away. So therefore, liking is happening because you have lust, and disliking is happening because you have hate. Right? So when you go into the mind, there will have, maybe when you are walking, or maybe when you are sitting, you may have observed instances where you get a lot of lustful thoughts. You get a lot of hatred thoughts. Right? That is because you are progressing. And when those things come, you think it is your mindfulness or your practice is not going well. You are going in the wrong direction. You are going opposite side instead of the progress. It is actually, according to the Blessed One, he says, this lust is something that the mind is having. And he never says, get rid of it. What he says is, understand, when you have lust in your mind, accept it. He is become aware of the lustful mind. Right? But what we are taught in the schools and in the society is that you should not have a lustful mind. Blessed One teaching is, we say it is going against the grain. which means he is giving completely a different alternative, different way of looking at things compared to the viewpoints of the general society, viewpoints of the so-called civilization. In the civilized world, what they say is, those things are not good. If you have those thoughts, they are so bad. You should do this, you should do that, you should do the other to remove them. Blessed One says, no, it is the nature. That is what you have in your mind. You don't do that. Simply, what you will have to do is, when those things are coming up, accept that it is me, that I have these thoughts. When you do that, the first thing that happens is you start loving yourself. Otherwise, when you have those thoughts, if you want to react, what it says is you don't like yourself. So this is how the Blessed One is teaching loving kindness to yourself. So when you start loving yourself, there is no need for you to say, may I be happy, may I be well. You are making yourself happy by accepting yourself. So therefore, when the lustful feelings are there, when the lustful thoughts are there, should not get alarmed, should not get panicked, should not try to chase them away, should not try to find your breath. Accept as it is. While walking, no need to find the leg, no need to find the right foot, no need to see what is happening, no need to find when you are sitting, where is my in-breath, where is my out-breath, where do I feel it, how do I feel it, what do I experience, and all that. Not necessary. You are having a lot of lustful thoughts. Keep on accepting them. They will continuously come. Doesn't matter. Keep on accepting, keep on accepting, let the mind show the movie. You go to a balcony with a box of popcorn, keep eating and watch the movie that the mind is showing. And when you don't react to it, mind does not achieve its purpose. So those thoughts may go away. And when they go away, the beauty is, since those thoughts are not there, you will try to relax. You will try to take a break. You will try to have a nap. Blessed One says, no, don't do that. When the mind is not affected by lustful thought, be aware of that as well. Don't keep the tool of being mindful away at any point in time. In other words, don't just use it when you want. Use it all the time. You had lust and you become aware of lust. Keep on being aware of lust all the time, so that when it comes to a point that no lustful thought, you will continue your awareness. It's like ringing the gong. When the session ended, I rang the bell. When I rang the bell, you can hear the bell. And if you keep on hearing, you can keep on hearing the bell even when the sound is not there. Or you can at least keep your ear faculty activated when the sound is not there. Like that, when you observe the lustful thought, don't just observe it, I have a lustful thought, it's gone now, all finished. No. Keep on observing even after that, and establish in the fact that the lustful thought is completely gone and I am aware of it. So that is why he's giving both the sides of the mind. The mind is always having the duality. Mind can exist only when there is duality. Right? You have lustful on one hand, and on the other you have the side where the lust is not there. But if you stop being mindful when it is lust, and you miss the opportunity of being mindful when the lust is not there. Blessed One says, have the same mindset, same attitude in both these situations, so that duality that the mind is thriving on is challenged. Right? And some people say, when we have these things, We can't talk them in the society. We can't talk them with parents. We can't talk them with the teachers. We can't talk them with our friends, because they will start laughing at us, right? It's true, but that's how the society is. And if you think that way, it is against mindfulness. Why I say against mindfulness is your attention is outside. Blessed One says, let them laugh as much as they want. What you simply will have to do is bring your attention inside. You accept that you have within yourself, right? So therefore, the Blessed One is giving completely a new way of looking at our own life, our own existence, not just the physical existence, our mental existence. So when you keep on not reacting to lust in this manner, you will have a balanced life, or rather balanced mind. You will not elated when the lust is there, or maybe hatred sometimes, and you will not be hating or liking it when the lust is not there. Whether lust is there or lust is not there, your attitude has changed. So finally what happens is, you don't see the difference between the two when you keep on doing it over a period of time. That is why the people say, change the mind and change the brain. Our brain is wired in the weird way because of the way our mind is working. So if we go to the habit of non-reactional attitude, non-reactional way of observing things, mind is changing, and as well as the wires in the brain also change. Right. So that is just about the lust. And when you have lust, hatred is just on the other side of the coin. Lust can never exist. Hatred is not there. If you love something, you love that because you want to have it for yourself. So if someone else touches that, then it's a big war. So difference between, when you see the words, you feel it polar apart. But it is not the case. It is in the same place. Right? Lust is just on hatred, or hatred is just on lust. Right? So the one who is loving today more than your life, in the next 2 seconds, who knows what will happen? I'm not trying to give you examples. You have been in the society for long enough to see all those type of examples. Those who have been so near and dear ones, we have been giving our life to them. Finally, it's gone the other way around, right? So therefore, the other side of the lust is hatred. So hatred feelings also will come, not feelings rather, hatred thoughts also will come, which is the other side of the mind. And even for that, the Blessed One says, having hatred thought is humanity. That is why you are a human. If you don't have hatred thoughts, you are already pure. My job is, those who have such thoughts, to tell them how to make use of them, how to recycle them, and become a superhuman. Right? So his recycling plant is having only one button, which we call knowing or awareness or observation. So even hatred, he says, irrespective of the intensity of the hatred thoughts you have, doesn't matter. Let it go continuously as huge civil war within your body or within your mind. You just keep observing. You may having thoughts, I will get that fellow tomorrow and then do this, do that, and all that. Let the mind tell that. You just observe. You eat your popcorn and keep on observing that horror movie that the mind is showing you. And when you do that, you say, since you are not trying to get rid of it, since you don't hate the hatred now. When the mind is having hatred, you may start disliking. Disliking it means you now hating the hatred. Right? Blessed One says, don't hate the hatred. You accept the hatred. When you accept the hatred, what happens is, it's like, you know, any bad thing will try only when there are more bad things, right? Say, for example, if you throw a piece of food into corner of your house, few days it will start rot, and fungus and smells and everything will accumulate on that, right? Because more and more bad things are going on. Similarly, when you have hatred, if you try to dislike it, if you try to remove it, if you try to destroy it, then you are adding more hatred, more fire, more petrol to the fire. So you don't more petrol, right? Instead, you stop simply putting petrol, right? So then whatever has come will come and burn away, finish, vanishes. So that way, when you keep on observing the hatred also will not thrive, right? So again, the Blessed One says, you can be mindful of the hatred, and then the hatred will vanish, when the hatred will disappear, but don't stop your mindfulness. Continue your mindfulness and observe even after that. Your mind is, when the mind is not affected by hatred, be aware of that as well. Most of the time what we do is, when there is lust, we are mindful, and when it is gone, we forget about it. When we have hatred, we become mindful, and when it goes away, we forget about it. So you allow the mind to maintain the duality. Blessed One says instead, okay, that goes away. And after that, you continue your mindfulness. When you continue your mindfulness, you can see the other side of the coin as well. You can see the other side of the show as well. Right? So in that manner, you challenge the duality of the mind. And this is not only happening in your general life, unfortunately. It happens even in your practice. In your practice, when you progress in the practice, you may go to super cool levels of practice. You may be feeling so happy, so rapturous, and you may feel like floating in the air. You may feel it's not actually happening, but you may feel so light, so comfortable. When those things happen, once again our lustful mind will start its action, and it will start liking it. And I remember when we discussed in the last session we had for the youth group, someone was saying that I liked it. So that is how our lustful mind works. You may not have, you think you have lust only towards, the sensual things. No. Now the lust will catch, not the sensual things. It will catch the progress in the practice and try to be more and more lustful towards that. And if something happens to destroy that, equal hatred will be developed in the mind. So you have to be very careful. It is not only in the normal living, ordinary living, it may also happen in our spiritual life. So no matter where it happens, Blessed One has just one advice. Don't try to get rid of that. Just observe it. Just accept it. When you accept, what happens is, as I said a few times now earlier, this duality is challenged, right? You don't identify now lust and no lust very much. You don't identify now hatred and non-hatred very much. So when those things go away, there is a very easier way for you to know that those are gone away. That easier way is, maybe while walking, you feel that you are doing such a useless thing. While sitting, you may feel that you are doing such a pointless thing. It is so boring. All this time you have been liking it and it was going so well. But all of a sudden you get these thoughts. It is boring, it is useless, and it's so miserable, you may feel. Why is that? It happens because you don't appreciate lust anymore. You don't appreciate hatred anymore. And you have also seen the mind that is not affected by lust. You have also seen the mind that is not affected by hatred. As a result, boredom sets in. Boredom setting in means, in your practice, you have gone a long, long, long way in your practice. Right? Because you are now coming away from the sensual desires. You're coming away from the main corruptions that you have in your mind. This liking and disliking that we had been feeling have been affected by these lustful thoughts and hatred thoughts. And even those thoughts are tamed, are managed now. So when you don't have lust and hatred, is there any point in living? That's a general consensus in the society. General viewpoint in the societies: don't have a weekend without a party. Don't have a weekend without going out. Don't have a weekend without going for a movie. Don't have a weekend without going to the pub. You will have to keep your senses pumped up, hyped up all the time. Then only you feel you are living. Then only you feel you are not bored. But the Blessed One, what he says is, put us to boring. And when you feel bored, you have challenged the very basic fundamentals of your mind. And that is called taming the mind. So when you have tamed your mind like that, very easy living. There is no one behind you to tell you what to do. No one, you won't work like a puppet. Otherwise, we are working like puppet of the mind. Everything what we do is what the mind wants. Now we have the ability to ask the mind, you keep your mouth shut, I know what to do. It is done by the mindfulness. And when we get there, our general mind initially understands that as boredom, initially understand that as miserable. But this misery is a gift. That is why I heard somewhere, I read somewhere, it says past is history, future is mystery, now is a present, now is a gift, and therefore it is called present. So that is how you take your present. Whatever that you have in the present moment, may be physical, may be feelings, may be thoughts, accept. When you accept, then it is present. Not only living in the present moment, it gives you a present to be happy. Right? So with that note of how to become happy by taming the lustful thoughts and hateful thoughts, I'm concluding the talk, and we can use the rest of the time available. I think about 20 minutes for any points if you have got to discuss. Maybe relating to the talk, maybe relating to what you have been doing. I'm very sorry I was not able to be there today. But thankful to all of you, and especially Satyaputa putting this together, so that you all had the chance to come and practice in the temple. Any questions? Any talking point?
I think so. Yeah, yep, that's me.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So you can, if you have anything to discuss, you can.
Yeah, I guess I have a question about the talk. You said that sometimes you just have to accept the thoughts for what it is. So what if you can just like, so you shouldn't try to get rid of the thought. I mean, it's not really a bad thing, but can it be considered a good thing if you can get rid of the thought? If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That is the norm in the society. Norm in the society is that getting rid of things is the way to go forward. The Blessed One, this is why he's having this superior knowledge or knowledge of seeing things in completely a different way. If you take simple maths, I'm not a guy whose maths is very good. What I know is that when positive is multiplied by positive, then answer is positive. Negative is multiplied by negative, answer is still positive. So if you really want to be positive, any negative you will have to accept. If you go against negative, you create spark. But the misconception that is taught, that is grown, that is sown in the society is to fight with everything. If it is not good, you somehow try to get rid of it. That's the way. And it is presented as something good, as you very well said. They call it positive thinking. In fact, what you do is, I mean, it will go away. Naturally, it will go away. Not that it really goes away. You just suppress it. That is what happens when you try to react to things. A simple example is I have met a tutor that was teaching in UQ, and when we were talking, and she was saying, okay, I'm doing mindfulness as well, and I'm developing a lot of positive thoughts, and I'm trying to stay positive. And I asked, how you do it? Then she said, no, whenever there is some negative thing happening, and we have these techniques, and we use those techniques. One of the techniques was to count when you feel angry. Then counting when you feel angry is, you don't like the hatred that is coming out. When the hatred is coming out, if you really want to defeat the enemy, you go face to face with the enemy. You have a guerrilla attack as much as possible, right? But when the real win comes only when you really face the enemy face to face. So when the enemy is coming, you let the enemy come, and then enemy is the anger in this case, and the weapon that the Blessed One has given is awareness. You just keep being aware. When you just keep being aware, what happens is you don't provide the necessary ingredients to increase it. The systems run in the universe is because of cause and effect relationships. So the cause to increase or improve or progress the hatred is hating it. So when you hate the hatred, you give more and more input, more and more water, more and more manure, more and more fertilizer. So it grows very well. But instead, let it come. Okay, I just keep on observing it. So it's just one hand moving here and there, but no other hands or no clap. It's as simple as that. But our society has given a positive, so-called positive thinking, which completely makes us kill ourselves and stab ourselves. I'm not quite sure whether you're convinced, but that is the Blessed One's advice.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Thank you. It's, yeah, I guess just accept. I guess that's why we meditate, because we're just trying to learn to accept just accept the thoughts, and when it comes, can't really react to it. It makes perfect sense. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, this is why people call, or the Blessed One himself called, I'm going against the grain. River is flowing downwards, but he's going upstream without any effort.
Just accept the flow.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have this may be a basic question.
Yeah.
Does awareness bring acceptance, or acceptance bring awareness?
That's a very difficult question. Right. It is acceptance is the second thing. First thing is the awareness, right? You become aware of the present moment, and acceptance of it means initially when you have the hatred thoughts, what naturally happens is the normal flow. The normal flow is because especially when you practice, if hatred thoughts are coming or lustful thoughts are coming, immediate reaction of the mind is, because your mind is working so fast, what to do, what do I do now, how do I do this, how do I get rid of this, those things will come up, right? So you will not be prompted to accept initially. Initially what happens is you become aware of the phenomena, and you struggle with the phenomena for some time in reality, until you come to senses with that something is controlling me now, and I have been taken over by that. So, but still you keep on practicing. When you keep on practicing, what happens is these things are coming up, because that is how the iceberg underwater is coming up. You keep on maintaining your timetable, no matter what happens. So when those things come up, there will have a point. Although these things are coming up, you are not struggling much. You are becoming more and more aware. Then because of these talks and because of this discussion, there will have a space in mind at one point. All right, what I have got to do is just to accept this. All this time, what I have been doing is I have been fighting with it mentally. Now there is no need to fight. It is me, and I accept myself. So therefore, acceptance comes next, right? So first thing that happens is awareness. The key to acceptance is the mindfulness, which is awareness. So when you accept, what happens is, it is not mindfulness. It is called the establishment of mindfulness. It becomes the appreciation of mindfulness. Does it make sense?
I'm trying to think, is there a way when you progress in the meditation that they can be together? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because that is what happens. When when the practice goes on, right? When you realize that I react mentally rather than accepting it, although I am aware this is there, but I am not yet accepted. You yourself understand your mistake. You yourself understand what makes it worse. Until such time you accept it, meditation is a burden, right? But there will have a point you realize that acceptance is also required here. Then you get more and more close to both coming together. Okay, it has come up. Now what I will have to do is accept. Okay, it is coming up. I'll have to do is accept. So then it becomes naturally, this gets together, and that is how you progress. It has the snowballing effect. Does it make sense now? Son and the daughter at the back. Do you have anything to discuss, Puta and Duru?
No.
All right. Okay. Right. So if there are no questions or anything to talk about the practice, then we can transfer merit and conclude the session. To conclude the session, we have, by practicing for 1.5 hours and then talking and discussing about the practice, we have generated tremendous amount of positive energies. These positive energies should be shared with whoever who is able to grasp these things and observe these things, absorb these things. And mainly it should go to whoever who is organizing these things and the Nayakateros in the temple and whoever who is looking after those temples and the Nayakateros, and especially you. By this is the only way this message will go forward. There will have someone to listen and someone to practice. There will have someone to teach. So when that relationship is there, this message will never die. It will keep going very slowly, maybe, but it will keep going. So it has come for 2,600 years. It will go for a long time. So I'm doing a great service to the dispensation. So share the merits with you as well. And anyone who is supporting and who is rejoicing some things like this, may everyone receive these energies. And with that thought in our mind, we can share the merits by chanting the traditional stanza at Tal Tachan.